About two friends, Johnny and Peter. Johnny had come to town to buy a dog. When he opened the door of his house, the dog ran straight into the kitchen. Peter was cooking food for his birthday party. Johnny chose a dog and took it home. Peter went to the door and opened it. All of a sudden, a big crowd of people in the garden started singing Happy Birthday. He spent a while looking in a pet shop for a dog. Suddenly, the doorbell rang. Could you comprehend the above? Wasn't it all a bit puzzling? Now, listen to this. Johnny had come to town to buy a dog. He spent a while looking in a pet shop for a dog. Johnny chose a dog and took it home. When he opened the door of his house, the dog ran straight into the kitchen. Peter was cooking food for his birthday party. Suddenly, the door rang. Peter went to the door and opened it. All of a sudden, a big crowd of people in the garden started singing Happy Birthday. You didn't understand this earlier, as the events that made up the action were not in a logical order. So you now realize that correct sequence is important for us to understand scenarios. The same happens when you study history. Events need to be recorded in a sequence or order. But how is it possible to arrange the innumerable events that have occurred across the ages? And why is it important to do so?
When a very young child plays with bricks, to the child, a single brick may mean a house. But as the child grows up, he or she learns to join a lot of bricks together to make a house.
In the process, the child has developed a sense of sequencing and interdependence as one brick is placed after another. Now imagine each brick was a date in history. We arranged the dates in the order of the relationship of significant events or periods, that is, in the order in which they occurred. This is known as chronology. But how do we demonstrate the sequence of historic events that have occurred through many centuries? Timelines help us to visually demonstrate the chronology of events. To understand timelines, let us look at the example of the timeline of the Indian civilization. Events are fixed on the timeline according to the dates of their occurrence in a chronological sequence. A timeline is divided into equal time segments, months, years, or centuries, with one end representing the oldest events and the other end the most recent events. Now, we can recognize that a timeline converts the time sense into the space sense. Once history is organized in chronological order, it helps us understand and appreciate the historical relationships of years to events and personalities, thus making us chronologically conscious. Chronologies allow us to see how things have changed over time, or to understand scenarios before and after an event. Events in history can be analyzed now from multiple perspectives, that is, their location, duration, and the extent of an event. Cause and effect relationships can be established, which explain the connections among people and events. Dates are important if we are to remember chronologies. But dates do not become important on their own. They become important because a particular set of events around that time was important. The importance of dates changes with changes in the point of emphasis. We explain this with the following example. Some British historians describe British rule in India. According to the rule of each Governor-General, namely Hastings, Wellesley, Bentinck, Dalhousie, Canning, Lawrence, Lytton, Curzon, Hardinge, Irwin, and Mountbatten. The dates were linked to these personalities, describing their activities, policies, and achievements. It did not mention the historic roles played by Indians, and hence the recorded history of India's independence struggle remains partial. Definitely, a new format was needed. The earlier dates would be replaced with new dates.